What is up? Welcome back to Market Psychology 101, where we look for value in the markets when there's fear and are cautious when there's greed. Today's video, we're going to be taking a look at some of the top Bitcoin mining stocks. But let's first jump into fear and greed and some of our macro indicators. So, stock market showing greed. We were in neutrality not long ago. Hopefully, that is a sign of things to come for crypto. Crypto been hanging out in the neutrality area, and as we zoom out, we can see this is one of those recent lows we've had ever since breaking above it back in April when we had that massive sell-off. So this could be a potential bottoming area, hopefully, and then we can get back to greed, extreme greed. We've been watching how the fear and greed index been hitting sort of a ceiling here, and I think once Bitcoin decides to go sort of parabolic, maybe make moves towards 150k Bitcoin, we'll see this turn into overdrive. And what's important to note is that typically during September, we tend to see overall the most negative month in crypto. And so there's some seasonality people are looking for, but I don't want to say it's going to be bearish just to say it's going to be bearish, because every year something can be different or change. But we have rate cuts coming up and how much markets price that in and all the other factors going in. We'll see. We'll see what happens. But you just got to be ready for those opportunities. And as we get closer to that alt season, something we've been talking about is how, yes, there's that rotation into altcoins after Bitcoin tops, but Bitcoin miners tend to top with Bitcoin. So keep that in mind. Also keep in mind there are some pretty decent sized pullbacks historically on the way to the top. Now on this channel, I talk about other crypto macro charts, indicators, crypto assets. Yesterday we talked about the Bitcoin cycle, rainbow chart, some other indicators. So subscribe to hear more about that, talk about altcoins and the stock market as well. Before we get into our first cryptos, just taking a look at Bitcoin. And Bitcoin after making that most recent high at around 124.5 K, we can see that it's come down and it's found some level of support decently off the 100-day moving average. The 200 really didn't find too much support, and it just sort of ripped through. So I could see getting a little bounce here back up to 114k, and then we'll see what happens. And one of the things we're also looking at before, why Bitcoin ran into a little bit of resistance at 124.5k, is one of the fib extensions right there. So 120.5, and should we break up 134k, seems to be like the next area to watch for. But right now, just want to see Bitcoin maintain support and hopefully get above this 114.5 area. That will be important for it. All right, let's get into Bitcoin mining stocks. First one is Mara, and something I am concerned of with Mara is you can see how ever since August 4th, this has just been running into a ceiling. We have all these moving averages, the 50, the 100, the 200, the 20. This is the 0.5 macro fib when you draw high to low. So there is a lot of resistance here. Not that we can't break through it, but it's all clustered resistance. And right now, we do see a positive green candle, but yeah, if we did see that come lower, there's a couple areas to look for. On the weekly, things aren't really that much different. The lowest area, I'd be taking a look for a discount anywhere near this 382 of around 11 to 12 bucks, anywhere down there. But if we take a micro fib and draw high to low, and we're going to put our fib on log scale because we're looking at price action in between, you can see it's resting at the 382 right now. So that is actually a good sign as a possible dollar cost average opportunity here for Merit. It's a good sign right here. But I do like this discount level from that recent high getting above that 0.5. I think anytime you're at the 0.5 on a lower, it's a good discount opportunity. So I do not mind that for Mara. Let's take a look at the stochastic paired with the MACD. These are good to pair together. I have to turn off one of my other indicators. This is the weekly stochastic. And the fact that it is sort of resetting, it could still reset over a bit more time. I take that as a positive signal, and you see the monthly has a lot of room to run up. That has been the case for a lot of these. Now, the weekly has been overbought on a lot of crypto assets, and so the fact the weekly is resetting is good. You see the monthly, this has been negative for a while, so once that flips up, that can be a good sign of things to come. As far as the weekly, don't love to see that for Mara. So again, keep that September bearish month in the back of your head just in case we do go a little bit negative. And again, I like Mara a lot at this level. Should it get down there, I like it here. To be honest, I like it here. I love it here. That's sort of how I'm looking at Mara. All right, let's go to number 2. Again, Iris Energy. This one kind of came out of nowhere, is in the top 5 and it rocketed up to the number 2 overall spot. And, something that keep in mind is market cap. When you're thinking of these miners and how high they can go, try to consider market cap. A lot of other crypto YouTubers, people on X, they'll just throw out these crazy numbers and not consider where the market cap would go, whether that's realistic or not. So do factor that in if you're looking at how high these can go. Do you believe in the $20 to $30 billion range, $50 billion? Have a reason behind that, why it can go as high as you hope in the most bullish scenario. So we'll take a look at Iron Limited, formerly Iris, and it's getting above that 888, which is really promising on the weekly. Let's take a look at our 2 trusty indicators. Stochastic, unlike Mara, a bit overbought, and the MACD are getting towards that overbought area. I think, where it is right now, that's turning dark green again. Where the stochastic was showing, I would not doubt that it might challenge those all-time highs and then run into a little resistance. This chart overall kind of reminds me a little bit of Ethereum, just with those higher lows to break under and then challenging the former all-time high. Iron just, to me, looks very similar to that chart. So you know what we can do here? Actually, let's just overlay Iron and Ethereum, and let's see. Overall, I don't know about you guys, but to me that looks pretty decently similar. Just something to consider when charting. I look for any sort of advantage or data point I can to I don't know, look for anything that might tell us what might happen. And with Ethereum, recently made new all-time high, but it's still technically running into resistance there, candle body wise. So maybe that's what Iron is going to do. But yeah, Iron still performing well. So congrats to any of you that had some Iron mining stocks. Would I buy some right now? No, by the way, I would not. But what we can do, ways I look for discounts. Another way you can draw fibs, low to high, and you can see where your discounted levels are. You can also throw on the moving averages, of course. And right now it's getting extended from those moving averages, but then factor, where would you want to look for discounts for Iron? Personally, I think that 786 would be a decent area with moving averages and fibs. All right, let's move on to a couple more. We'll probably keep this video a touch brief today. We'll go over to Riot, and Riot's another mining stock I think has good potential. I do like how it's kind of hanging above this descending channel that it had. Came down to the 3-2, got great support, coming back up. I'm hoping it challenges that 0.5 up there, that 0.5 fib. That has been a somewhat rough area for it. Let's move over to the weekly, and yeah, as long as it gets above this 1536 area, I think that 0.5 fib could be potentially challenged. Let's take a look at our stochastic. Possibly, I do like seeing that cross up. That is a good sign. The monthly, these can run pretty heavy throughout on the monthly or be very overbought for a while. But yeah, just something to keep in mind as it starts to get up there. And then we have to take a look at the MACD. We won't do these for the rest, but just curious about this one. I think some of the charts, they kind of end up looking the same. The MACD, I do like seeing how on the weekly it is still turning positive, or is going down light green, and then it started to turn positive, dark green again. So that's good for Mara. If it did come back down at all, I'd be taking a look for support down in this area. $11 I like, and I was loving it down here at $7 and feeling pretty good about that right now for a ride. I think the next one was Core Scientific. This one sometimes a challenge at number two spot, but recently been hanging down a little bit lower. And going to Core Scientific, let's go over to the daily because this one is relatively newer. But for the daily, one thing I don't love to see overall is just, potential sort of double top. But it is holding support above the 50-day moving average. So if you really like cores, this might not be a bad area for you. At that 50-day moving average, if it gets back down to the 100-day, that's the golden pocket as well. If you're a fan of cores, I think that'd be a good area to consider. But yeah, I think cores right here, if you're a fan, decent area to consider. But I do really like that 1253 sort of range. Let's go to Wolf. Wolf made some big moves not too long ago. Looks like the price came down a little bit after I had that. Yeah. So Wolf out of nowhere just shot up. And all of us here who have liked Wolf, we've been talking about it since it's been, in the $1 range. I mean, we're very happy with it. But yeah, this one just all of a sudden shot up, out of nowhere. Over the course of a week, 100%. So, congrats again to you, Wolf fans. We do have this channel hitting that 786 resistance. Right now, Wolf would be in the golden pocket that we just looked at for cores. That's between the 618 and 65. You can always add the 65 on your fibs as well. I'll show you how to do that here. It's not hard. So 0.65. And yeah, you can see that golden pocket area, and it's actually running into, funny enough, you can see that 6.5 is actually good resistance. Showed up with the upper end of that channel, and it's running that resistance right now. So, 6.5, 618 might come back down. I think this area right here, where the 50-day moving averages, would be an area to possibly consider. If it did, man, it'd suck if it fell that far. But it would probably challenge the 618, and if it did get lower, that'd be an area I had to look for. But yeah, I am curious to see what Wolf will do if it gets up here to 76 around 17 with the channel and the fib. Is it going to get stuck there and come down, or is it going to rocket up further? Something to keep in mind is that crypto assets, I saw this last cycle, that crypto assets from 2017, there were some like XRP, Bitcoin Cash, they only topped out at their 786 from the former macro high to low. So keep that in mind. I'm not saying Wolf can't go higher, but there are crypto assets, older ones, that performed well before that only ever return back to their macro 786. So I'm not saying it can't go higher than that, but do keep that in the back of your mind. If you've been buying down here and it looks like Bitcoin is going to 150K and all this stuff, and Wolf is hanging out around here, I might seriously consider taking at least some percentage of profits. Let's do two more. Let's do CleanSpark and Cypher. I'm surprised, CleanSpark's been falling down a little bit. We'll finish with that one after we go through Cypher first. Cypher hanging out at the 786 has been resistance before. This one, it kind of reminds me of Iron and also that Ethereum chart. So if Cypher is able to break up, you're looking for that 888 right here at around $10. So at 711 right now, and yeah, hopefully we see this one go higher, kind of like Iron, with the charts being so similar. And then lastly, let's go to CleanSpark. And there's some things that I personally like about CleanSpark, but yeah, let's see what's going on here. So CleanSpark, I'm curious if we go from, I know it's not the best channel that you're looking at here. If you go from low to high, you see it's kind of hanging around that micro 0.5 fib. But there's going to be a lot of resistance. You saw that 3-2 as well. There's going to be a decent amount of resistance here where all these moving averages converge at around 1030. So see what happens here if it did come back down to 865, 860, and you really like CleanSpark. If it holds support and starts to show a little bit of confirmation, maybe worth considering. But I do like CleanSpark overall. Still technically a higher low, but yeah, we'll see what happens here. If it all of a sudden gets underneath that, I'm a little worried. And then ultimately, it's got to break up above 1250 for where that descending channel is. So yeah, we've had a little bit of a pullback for CleanSpark, but that can create good discount buying opportunities if it's a good stock. So something to consider. Well, that does it for today. Thank you all so much for watching, and I hope you have a wonderful Wednesday. Take care.